Hi, everyone. My name is Neil Bertrando with RT Permaculture, and I'm here today to discuss low-tech erosion control tools in our toolkit as part of our low-tech erosion control course that we're putting together with Jeffrey Adams of Terra Sophia and Javin Bernakovich of Regenerative Living. And today I'm here to discuss fish scale straw mulch. This is a great, quick, easy, hand-built low-tech technique using just straw and a shovel and physical labor. And you can also, if you like, use a tool like a level, a laser level, or a bunyip to help you with your layout. And it's a vertical mulching technique. So a good portion of the mulch is actually buried in the soil, and also the mulch sticks out of the top of the soil, in contrast to a common broadcast mulch that would be horizontal mulching or parallel to the soil. This is perpendicular to the soil, and this is great for drylands and for deserts and for areas where wind is high and mulch tends to blow away. So the vertical mulching holds the mulch in the soil, it anchors it. Additionally, it holds the mulch in the soil in resistance to the flow of water. So both wind and water are both slowed and as well as unable to move the mulch out of the position that it was placed in the landscape. So here you can see some AmeriCorps volunteers and myself installing it with just a shovel and one person on the shovel and one person on the ground putting the mulch into the shovel hole, and then a quick compaction back on the shovel side and on the downhill side to hold the mulch in place. And the response also is quick. After 13 days and just a little bit of precipitation, we got seedling recruitment and concentration at the uphill side of the vertical mulching, the fish scale straw mulch placement. So this shows you exactly the ease of how it goes together and the process. One person just pushes the spade in the ground, pulls it back, the other person shoves the straw in, and then you release the spade and pack it down. This shows you, again, the 13 days after treatment. Just some water has already flowed, not much, and recruitment, germination, and deposition has already occurred. So this is 76 days after treatment and a couple of rains. This is in Southern California, Temecula, the city of Temecula in Riverside County. So it's very hot in the summer, warm winters, and a short rainy period where they can experience intense rainfall. So you can see the whole landscape has responded to this rain, but in particular, right along the fish scale straw mulch line, we used wheat straw. So the wheat grass has germinated and has grown up. That's immediately began to increase the organic matter on the site, as well as to slow and catch the wind and the water, and slow down the sediment and deposit sediment. And you can see the little alluvial fan type of deposition patterns of sediment that are occurring right uphill from the fish scale straw mulch. This treatment was used on a bare hillside to treat real erosion that had occurred on the hillside due to historic disking of the site, to treat the site for vegetation removal and minimize fire danger. So that there's an interesting balance on this site, and we recommended that they shift from disking to flail mowing and leaving a 4 to 6 inch buffer of vegetation on the site as part of the overall treatment plan. But this was an initial immediate treatment to treat the rills that were created through the disc furrows. And you can see that it has stopped the rills and started to catch some sediment and create alluvial deposition. So here's a close-up of it. Again, you can see that immediate soil collection, and it's a micro collection of sediment. It's not a huge amount, but this is easy to install many linear feet of across the landscape quickly with very low skill labor. And so it's easy to do with volunteers and things like that, and with readily available accessible materials like straw bales. Ideally, you would use a native grass hay so that it would be reseeding the area with native grass seeds and that sort of thing, and really kind of jumpstart that native revegetation process. But you can use whatever you can get your hands on. sometimes native grass hay is really expensive or unavailable. And that was the case here. It was too expensive. So the people we're working with decided to just purchase some straw bales they could get easily locally. And this is, again, 76 days after treatment. You can see the straw growing along the contour and really perking up, increasing the total amount of biomass on the site, as well as creating this whole sequence of little alluvial fan deposition patterns. And so yeah, this is a great and easy treatment to install, and fairly effective immediately after receiving rainfall. And it continues to be effective because it's growing its own set of kind of straw mulch in place for the next round and the next season.
Neil, this is amazing. So you've got this site, it's high wind. You can't just put mulch down on the ground. You don't have the money or the experience, or not the experience, but you don't have the money or the labor or potentially the material to create larger earthworks. So you do something, again, really, really subtle with a material that anybody has. You open up the soil, you put in the straw scale, and you release the soil back. And I love that how you had that in that one slide. There's no digging involved. This is just opening and releasing. And then once it's opened and released, this is, again, a regenerative ruin. It's basically holding sediment back on the uphill side, as we're seeing here. And then on the downhill side, it's just creating more of a water slowing or a water plume. So, this is something, I think this is great for, especially this course. This is something that anybody could do in any situation.
Yeah, I mean, and you can position it many places in the landscape. It's quick and easy to do, so you're not looking at a high level of investment of money or labor or energy. So you can do it and then learn from the landscape response and change how you position things or increase your application of it, or you can modify it relatively quickly and easily without a lot of investment into a structure, which is something I really like, especially when starting off with any sort of landscape intervention, is something that has a low cost, a low consequence of failure, and an easy feedback loop to be able to complete and adjust and adapt based on how the site responds to your actions.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I think in so many situations, especially when it comes to things like permaculture or keyline design or agrarians, there's sometimes a sense of, I have no idea how I would start with a pond. And the idea of taking on that level of complexity really perplexes individuals. And yet with this, you could, beyond watching this short video, knowing what a shovel is, knowing what straw is, you could put this into a landscape and put it into practice 5 minutes after you've watched this and literally watch what happens. And the downside of this would be close to nothing in terms of destructive habits or destructive attributes of this. This is something that anybody could pick up and do and would largely have positive effects. Am I wrong in that?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, ideally, you're going to look for some sign of erosion, active erosion in the landscape. So there's a little bit of observation that's going to go into the decision making for placement of these, above and beyond just like taking a shovel and some straw out in the field. If you don't have active erosion going on, then you don't necessarily need to do this, but it is also a water harvesting feature. So you could increase the amount of water that's soaking into your landscape in the places where vegetation is going to grow by doing it as well. And you don't have to use straw. Like sometimes you'll have a bunch of sticks laying around from some brush or things like that, and so you can use dead sticks or any sort of materials that are organic material that can be positioned vertically in the soil like this, and are it could be just excess stuff you have laying around that you want to create some habitat and water harvesting features with.
Phenomenal work, Neil. Thanks so much for sharing with us today. And for anybody who's interested, we will be running a low-tech erosion control course in the winter 2022. You can check it out at regenerativeliving.online or at the link below. And it'd be a pleasure to have you in the course. Thanks again, Neil. And if you want to check out more of Neil's work, check out rtpermaculture.com.